Wassail Dragons! So, this is a reading for the 6th moon, solar eclipse moon, biggie. We're doing a Tesla trap for these to see what energies we're caught in, or you're caught in. Oh, and Francis, look, I'm wearing your t-shirt. Thank you. So we're going to do a Tesla trap, and I'll explain it as we go along, but we're looking for a frequency trap, the solution, the molecules, pathways, internal and external. So, oh, that's too many cards. I don't know which. So now I'm going to do the molecules. So these are, it's all based on 9 single-digit numbers. So we want a card for 1 where your internal work starts. So we have 1 plus 1 is 2, and that's the second card. 3 is part of the trap. So 2 plus 2 is 4. And then 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16, which you add together and make 7. And 7 and 7 is 14, which makes 5. And then 5 and 5 is 10, which makes 1, and you're back to the beginning of the trap. So, and then I'm going to use another deck, Dragons, to give you a pathway through this. This is the Muse Tarot, or a pathway through the solution. And then at the end, we'll have an outcome card, but I don't want the outcome card there until we reach the end. There's 1. Can we please have pathway forwards for dragons? Pathway forwards for dragons, please. A pathway forwards for dragons, please. Pathway forwards for dragons, please. A pathway forwards for dragons, please. So that's 3. So we've got a few spare cards, but I'm reading double cards as well. So 3 plus 3 is missing, which 3 and 6 and 9 are missing. So 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 6 is 12, which makes 3. So that becomes the frequency trap. So your internal frequency trap, the 3 digit, is flow, and flow is 20. So this is about being in flow in your internal molecules, and having a connection within yourself emotionally. This is always about emotions, and the internal side, the 1, 2, 3 and 4 side, is your internal work, what you do through the cups and wands and swords. And then the other half of it is how you externalize this shadow work you've done to take it out into the real world, and then how that sends you back to the beginning again. So you have the card of emotional flow, dragons, and it is this real sense that the water dragon, I'm a bit slow this morning. So you are in your water dragon mode and you're flowing now, but the 6, which is the other half of the trap, is this card, the curse. Now, this is 14/5 change. So this is always for me DNA trauma. It's like you're doing the internal work to flow with your water dragon energy, and then when you externalize it, it's seeming to say that you're being caught up by not being able to take your internal flow and apply it to the external world. You're not somehow managing to clear the inherited DNA, but we'll look in detail at how this works. So let's begin with where you start each time, in Hermit mode. So you begin doing a search for your internal truth, and you're doing it really rather well. So your old truth, that is that, oh, now then, your truth as was part of earth frequencies, and in this card, the truth that you set out to begin each time is this elevated truth that is to do with your internal truth, your light of truth, your frequency. And look how you're elevated like a dragon. You're floating above the earth, and that's how it should be. To do this internal work is not part of the real world. It's the journey of how you apply that to the real world. So you begin in this wonderful Divine 9 Hermit, and I know that quite often this card relates to the feeling that we're all in at the moment, but this isn't about that. This is about you being very successful at going inside yourself and identifying things. So where does this take us? The second step that you make is to the card of the Emperor 4, and the energy that this card is talking about, he holds a bishop, and the Emperor is the emotional masculine. So there's the raw masculine, the magician, which was what the Earth grid used to be. Then in December, at the last solar eclipse, the Earth grid became emotional, and that's why so much internal work is being done, because there's all kinds of uncomfortable emotions that are being brought to the surface. And this Emperor is seated here, waiting almost. Waiting for spirit to come in and upgrade you. That's interesting, because that would suggest that you're sort of being a little half-hearted with your shadow work. You're going into the zone, you're starting in the zone, and then you're coming to this Emperor energy, and it's almost like you're waiting. You see there's the flow coming down, and it's just hinting at creating the divine masculine frequency, and you're waiting for flow to come in and push this energy along. It's almost like you're, I want to say, scared to apply this to the outside world. So you then come down to the 8 of Pentacles. And again, this is about a kind of tree of life, Yggdrasil epiphany that you have, where you understand the work you've been doing, or you think you do. And she's holding her inner truth in her hand, and yet the real inner truth is shining from within her, just as it was when you started. So it's suggesting to me that everything's in this card, everything's there, all of the tools to move forwards are there. She has bowls full of flowers, there's a mortar and pestle for creating and crushing things together in your internal mind and spirit. There's a second candle on the table. There's feathers, there's paper, quills rather. It's Okay, so it's almost like you're not, they're kind of saying journaling. It's like you're doing half the work, but you're not remembering to put all the pieces together. So maybe if you journaled a little more, you might start to see patterns that you're missing. However, this is still very lovely energy that's coming through for you, dragons. But when you apply that to the real world, your first step in the real world is coming back out with your new emotions and feeling anxious as you go back out into the real world. Spirit, crow, thoughts. It's like you've... I mean, there's a sense of... it's not shame or embarrassment, but it's an energy that's very similar to that. It's a sort of... there's a bed in this that's slightly invisible. And bed is the dream realm, and this is a card of dreams and nightmares, and it's kind of like you putting your hands in your face because you're aware that you didn't actually properly complete the key. It's like you've done the internal work, but the key you've made doesn't really fit the lock of where you're intending to go with it. So you're having this sense of anxiety that's just washing through you when you apply it to the real world. And the next step is balance, justice, adjustment. And it's imbalance. That's really interesting. It's, look, this card has two images. It has an image that's uncomfortable and not happy, and then you have an image in bliss, the spiritual warrior image. And the lower body is so much stronger energetically in the card today. It's like I'm not being, it's like this is being shown. It's like there is no adjustment taking place. Your anxiety as you step out is not allowing you the calm. I've never, this card, the lower energy on this card has never been so prominent, ever. Which is fascinating, because it's like smoky mirror. It's this. You're not applying what you learn to dealing with the traumas that are in the body that don't belong to you, but were inherited in your DNA. And what you need to be doing is identifying those things, spotting how they came to you, how they were poked in your own life, how people made you believe they're part of your frequency, but they're not. Your consciousness came down here with its own pathways and contracts. Your physical DNA has a series of contracts that need to be dealt with, but they're not yours. They belong to ancestors and their molecules. So you're not reaching the balance point, and yet you are walking away from these echoes through time. These are the molecules, and you're taking with you just what you need to move forwards, but actually you're dropping or thinking you're dropping all of this, and you're not actually dropping it, but you feel you've done the work. So there's a real sense of things you think you've dealt with coming back up again, and you're like, I thought I dealt with this, and yet it's raising its head again. It's raising its head because it wasn't dealt with properly. It's not always that easy to shed these old things, because they're very old patterns that we repeat, and we're trying to break patterns. So you then have with that card, which was the Knight of Pentacles, you have the Chariot, and the Chariot is moving forwards with massive speed, massive speed. I see. So these two horses don't actually have any reins. This is you racing forwards. This, in here, is all these things. You think you've identified them, you think you've dealt with them, but actually you're just storing them up and you're still riding forward at breakneck speed with a coach laden with unnecessary emotions, thoughts, troubles, things like that, and yet you're racing forward, and what happens is you suddenly find yourself back here, trying to do the shadow work again, and again, waiting for spirit to kind of assist you. You have to assist spirit to assist you. So there's a disconnect somehow between you and spirit. So what's the Divine Nine frequency that's missing? You have two cards for this. You have Coyote. I'm getting orange sacral. There, now it makes sense. When you're doing your work, step 2, this emotional masculine molecule energy that you're trying to deal with in your internal world is internal shadow work is not to do with the material world, and yet it is to do with your molecules, because it's the field in which your molecules resonate, and that's why it gets triggered in DNA and you're recalling old energies. But it's almost like you're sitting on your sacral, almost trying to hide it from its truth, and that's really, really important at the moment, because the sacral's been kind of blown open and emptied out of all of this, so that you have a chance to refill yourself with energy of self-love. And you're not filling it properly, you're just kind of hiding it under the carpet. You're not completing the proper self-love. And so it's Coyote, because it's like a divine detour, but you're creating this detour, spirit isn't. The Coyote is actually saying, I'm not doing this. It's not a divine detour, it's a pattern that you're creating in your own energy frequency that's keeping you stuck. The true Divine Nine energy that you're heading for is full-on Tree of Life, Yggdrasil, transformative energy. So you've got this wonderful Eight of Pentacles Tree of Life energy, in which you're just too busy looking at your candle rather than the entire world around you and all the things that you need to deal with. You're filling yourself up with lots of other tasks. You're kind of distracting yourself from the energy to properly move you forwards. So Tree of Life is talking about Earth grid, and you've got this energy. Remember, this card's very important. You've got the energy of emotional masculinity. The Earth grid is emotionally masculine. It will become divine masculine on this solar eclipse in 2 weeks. And you need to be going down to the natural world and connecting with nature. It's your lower heart chakra that's not working properly in this situation. Your higher heart chakra is able to give out the energy of love, but because your sacral's not resonating in its truth, your divine feminine consciousness can't get to the sacral properly. And we need to get the grid divine masculine so that we can actually pull the divine feminine consciousness into the grid, into the earth, and that will bring about that hierophantrix balance energy for us. So you need to go and lie under a tree and you need to ask the roots of the tree and the natural world to take you on an earth walk inside the earth, because ancestor memories are inside the earth, in the fourth dimension, and they are caught up. They're kind of the ancestors' spirit remembrance is a fourth dimension, but what's been poked in you through their incomplete contracts is second dimension personal demons. So you're trying to travel between the two, but these two energies are squeezing together so hard you can't get through the frequency. It's too stiff. So go to a tree, ask the tree, thank the tree, love the tree, lie under it, let the roots of the tree carry you down, and don't try and ask where you want to go to. Just say, I'd really like it if you could take me down to the earth grid and upload me with the frequencies I need to start moving forwards. So we have 3 cards here. You have the Two of Materials. Materials are Pentacles. This is about changing the cycle. The cycle is going to change, but you still have to do your shadow work to ride and stand on this wonderful earth and change the frequency. The frequency changes, but are you going to stand tall enough to reach this energy and to enjoy it? And then you have the Muse of Voices. So the Muse of Voices, again, we've got sacral energy, but your sacral's split. It's pointing to your higher heart chakra, and the higher heart chakra I talked about just now is working within you, but it's not at its full frequency. It's too soft at the moment. This is the King of Swords, basically, but it's a muse in this deck because it's balanced masculine and feminine energy. It's Zen. To be Zen with your thoughts, but to be Zen with your thoughts, you've actually got to voice them, and that's what I love about the Muse deck. Swords, thoughts, are needing to be voiced. They need to be created in magical frequency sound form for you to move on. So you need to make statements of intent of where and what you would like to do with these complicated energies that you're trying to shed, that you're running into all the time. But it is saying that by voicing it, creating form, putting it out into the universe, you're being given the world. You're being given the chance, dragons, to complete this karmic cycle. This is card 21, and the divine masculine solar eclipse energy that will change the frequency of the earth grid and allow us to balance our divine feminine energies into the earth is on the 21st of June. So you're being given beautiful, sublime cosmic gifts to get to this. So what's the outcome? What's the outcome then, please, for dragons? What's the outcome, please, for dragons? What's the outcome, please, for dragons? Whoa! You've got Yggdrasil again, but this is the cosmic Yggdrasil. This is living light energy. See the beauty in life. So you've got this Yggdrasil, and the cosmic energy Yggdrasil. This is the frequency. This is the divine 9 consciousness source frequency that resonates through everything. This is the cosmic fractals on a large scale, and this is the micro fractals inside the DNA, which allows this to be totally removed so that you no longer sit in that energy. So, dragons, you've got 3 Yggdrasil trees, Greedy, but it's your watery emotions that you've connected with are the next stage in clearing out, because look, water purifies everything. So apply your flow knowing that that's your true magic. That is so beautiful, so beautiful. It's coming with the eclipse. And don't forget, it's a completion of a massive karmic cycle beyond imagining. So, dragons, 3 trees. Have a nice time and I'll see you soon. Wassail.